Hey, you can't be here. Filthy animal! Trying to sneak into the courthouse.
She walked into court like any other day, but by noon she was in handcuffs, slapped, humiliated, and accused of a crime she didn't commit. They called her a filthy animal. They told her she didn't belong in a courthouse. But what Officer Reynolds didn't know was that the woman he arrested owned that courtroom. In a twist that stunned the world, the victim became the judge. And justice? She hit back harder than anyone expected. Before we dive into this powerful, true story, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story where justice finally finds her voice. Atlanta mornings have a rhythm, a heartbeat of footsteps, bus brakes, and conversations that fade into the hum of the city. But that morning, the air outside Fulton County Courthouse didn't hum. It growled. Judge Aaliyah Carter had walked those steps 1,000 times. Usually in her robe, briefcase in hand, smile polite, authority unquestioned. But today she came in plain clothes, jeans, a cream blouse, and a briefcase filled with today's docket. A morning like any other, until it wasn't. The scrape of leather shoes interrupts. A man's voice dripping with contempt. Officer Reynolds, snarling. Another ghetto rat trying to sneak into the courthouse. Sound, harsh slap. The sound cracked through the air like a gunshot. His palm connected with her face so hard her head snapped sideways. Her briefcase hit the stone steps, papers scattering like white birds taking flight. Officer Brian Reynolds grabbed her by the throat, shoved her against the wall. His voice was low, venomous. Filthy animals, like you belong in cages, not courthouses. He twisted her arms, the metal cuffs biting deep. Other officers, Harris and Dawson, gathered, laughing, recording. And through it all, Aaliyah's gaze didn't waver. She stared past them, up at the bronze nameplate that glinted in the sunlight. The Honorable Judge A. Carter, Courtroom 4B, 20 feet from her own bench, being brutalized by the very system she'd spent her life defending. Inside, the courthouse was cool and still. Reynolds straightened his uniform, checked his reflection in the glass, and rehearsed his favorite act, the hero cop. He'd done this before. Spin the story, control the narrative. He was good at it. When he took the stand, his tone was confident. Practiced. Your Honor, he began. I was conducting a routine security check when I spotted a suspicious individual trying to breach courthouse security. He gestured toward the woman in handcuffs, the same one he'd assaulted minutes earlier. Now she sat bruised and silent at the defendant's table. Judge Philip Crane, gray-haired and impatient, leaned forward. And what did you observe, Officer Reynolds? Reynolds didn't hesitate. She was dressed inappropriately, carrying stolen legal documents. When I approached, she became hostile, combative. The courtroom murmured approvingly. They'd heard this script before. From the gallery, Officers Harris and Dawson exchanged smirks. They'd watched Reynolds lie under oath before. Different faces. Same story. She kept screaming that she was someone important, Reynolds said, sneering. They always do. Judges, lawyers, senators, you name it. Always a victim card. Prosecutor Linda Porter nodded in sympathy. And did she resist arrest? Absolutely, Reynolds said smoothly. I used the minimum necessary force to ensure safety. The stenographer's fingers clacked away, immortalizing every lie. And yet, in the back row, a young clerk frowned. Something about the defendant, her posture, her tone, felt oddly familiar. Judge Crane leaned back, satisfied. He'd seen this kind of case too often. Loud, angry defendants versus calm, disciplined officers. In his mind, the outcome was already decided. The state recommends we proceed with trespassing, resisting arrest, and assault on an officer, Prosecutor Porter said. The defendant's trying to turn this into a civil. Right stunt. Reynolds smirked. He'd won again. Another criminal put in her place. But while he stood there basking in his own performance, the woman in cuffs lifted her head, and the room fell silent. Your Honor, she said quietly. May I respond? Her voice wasn't trembling or fearful. It was calm, controlled, like someone used to commanding a courtroom, not surviving one. Judge Crane raised an eyebrow. "You may speak briefly." She nodded once, then turned to the gallery. "Officer Reynolds stated I was trespassing. That's incorrect. I was walking on a public sidewalk approaching this courthouse at 8:47 a.m. And unless Georgia has seceded from the Constitution, public sidewalks remain public." The room stirred. The prosecutor frowned. This wasn't the speech of a confused defendant. This was the cadence of a lawyer. "He also claimed I carried stolen legal documents," the woman continued. "Those documents are legitimate case files belonging to this courthouse, specifically to my office." Judge Crane squinted. "Your office? And what office would that be, miss?" "Dr. Carter," she corrected smoothly. "Aaliyah Carter. And I believe we'll get to my profession in due time." The room froze. Reynolds' smirk faltered. She stood, chains clinking softly. "Your Honor," she said evenly, "I'd like this court to preserve all courthouse security footage from 8:45 to 9:15 a.m. this morning. Every camera, every angle." The prosecutor jumped to her feet. "Objection. The defendant can't make evidentiary requests." Aaliyah turned to her, eyes sharp. "Under the Sixth Amendment, pro-se defendants are entitled to present evidence in their own defense. And under Brady versus Maryland, the state is required to preserve exculpatory material. You know that, don't you, counselor?" The courtroom went dead silent. You could hear the tick of the wall clock. Judge Crane shifted uncomfortably. "Miss, Dr. Carter, you seem unusually familiar with legal procedure. Do you have formal training?" "Let's just say I've spent some time around judges," she said with a faint smile. Then she reached in her jacket pocket, slowly, deliberately, and held up a leather wallet embossed with gold. The courtroom gasped. Inside it glimmered the seal of the United States Judicial Office. Bailiff Marcus Dean froze, his eyes widening as he recognized her. He'd seen that face 100 times, behind the bench, not in front of it. "Your Honor," she said softly, holding the credential high. "Perhaps we should recess, so everyone here can verify exactly who Officer Reynolds assaulted this morning." Sound, gavel strikes hard. "Court will recess for 15 minutes, Judge Crane whispered, his voice shaking. And just like that, the hunter had no idea he'd just cornered a lion. Fade to black. 15 minutes. That's how long the courthouse had to breathe before everything changed. Inside those walls, whispers turned into rumors. Rumors into panic. And panic into silence. In a small holding room behind Courtroom 4B, Aaliyah Carter sat motionless. The bruise on her cheek was swelling now, dark, angry, raw. But her eyes, those stayed steady. Cold. Focused. Bailiff Marcus Dean fumbled with his keys, his voice trembling. "Marcus, Judge Carter, dear God, Your Honor, I didn't know. I didn't recognize you. You looked like a man seeing a ghost. And in a way, he was." Aaliyah, softly. "It's all right, Marcus. You weren't part of it. But I need your help. Marcus, anything, Your Honor. Anything at all. Aaliyah, go to my chambers. Quietly. Bring my judicial robe. The black one with the gold trim." A pause. "And Marcus? Marcus?" "Yes, ma'am." "Aaliyah, bring my gavel. The engraved one. From my swearing-in." His eyes widened. He nodded and disappeared down the hall, sprinting like a man carrying redemption in his hands. Alone again, Aaliyah leaned back in the metal chair and closed her eyes. She had sat behind the bench for 23 years, handing down justice like breath itself. But that morning, justice had been ripped away from her. And now, she was taking it back. Her phone, finally returned, buzzed with notifications. Her clerk, Tanya Briggs, had sent a dozen frantic messages. "Judge Carter, where are you? The Peterson hearing starts in 20 minutes. The attorneys are waiting. Please call me back. There are rumors." Aaliyah typed a calm reply. "Tell them the hearing is postponed. Something more important has come up. Clear my afternoon calendar." Then she scrolled to a familiar number, one she'd never used in a moment like this. "Aaliyah. Elaine, it's Aaliyah. Chief Judge Elaine Monroe, on phone." "Kesha, thank heavens. We heard something happened outside the courthouse. Are you hurt?" Aaliyah, calm, steady. "I've been better. but I need you to do something for me. Right now, no questions. Elaine, of course. What do you need? Aaliyah, I need you to contact courthouse security. Have them preserve and copy all surveillance footage between 8:45 and 9:15 this morning. Every camera, every angle. Store copies off-site. No deletions, no overwrites. There's a long pause. Elaine, Aaliyah, what happened? Aaliyah, a police officer named Brian Reynolds testified under oath that he detained a dangerous trespasser outside the courthouse this morning. Beat, that trespasser was me. Elaine, stunned. Oh my God, Aaliyah, he assaulted me, Elaine. Called me a filthy animal. Told me I belonged in a cage. Silence stretched across the line, thick as grief. Elaine, do you want me to call the FBI? The Attorney General? Aaliyah, not yet. Right now, I just need the evidence secured. Then, I want every case Reynolds has ever testified and reviewed. All of them. Elaine, it'll be done. But Aaliyah, you can't preside over this yourself. There's a conflict. Aaliyah, interrupting, her voice iron. In 10 minutes, I'm walking back into that courtroom wearing my robes. And Officer Reynolds is going to learn exactly who he put in handcuffs this morning. Marcus returned, breathing hard, carrying a garment bag and a small wooden case. Marcus, your robes, your honor, and your gavel. Aaliyah unzipped the bag, fingers brushing against the black fabric. It shimmered under the fluorescent light, not like cloth, but like armor. She slipped it over her shoulders, feeling the weight settle. The robe wasn't just fabric. It was power. It was history. It was her voice made visible. Then she opened the wooden case and lifted her gavel, engraved along the handle. Justice is blind, but she sees all. Aaliyah, quietly. Marcus, when we walk back in, announce me properly. Marcus, swallowing hard. How would you like to be introduced? Your Honor. And for the first time that morning, she smiled. Aaliyah, the Honorable Judge Aaliyah Carter presiding. When the recess ended, the courtroom buzzed like a hornet's nest. No one knew what to expect. Reynolds leaned against the prosecutor's table, smug and relaxed. He thought it was over, that he'd buried the morning's events beneath polished lies. He had no idea what was coming. Marcus stepped through the side door and raised his voice, strong and formal. Marcus, booming, all rise. And then, the door opened. A hush swept the room. Every head turned. Judge Aaliyah Carter stepped through, wearing her full judicial robe, gold trim glinting under the lights. Her gavel rested in her hand, and despite the bruise on her face, she looked untouchable, unbreakable, unforgiving. Marcus, court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Aaliyah Carter presiding. The words hit the room like thunder. Reynolds froze, his mouth falling open. Judge Philip Crane went pale. Prosecutor Linda Porter dropped her pen. The audience? Dead silent. Aaliyah took her seat behind the bench. Her eyes swept the courtroom like searchlights. Aaliyah, quietly. Officer Reynolds, you may remain standing. His legs trembled. His lips twitched, searching for words that refused to come. Judge Crane, fumbling. Your Honor, I didn't. Aaliyah, thank you for covering my docket this morning, Judge Crane. I'll take it from here. Crane fled the room so fast his robes nearly tripped him. Then silence again. Aaliyah, Officer Reynolds, approximately 2 hours ago, you testified under oath in this courtroom. Do you recall your testimony? Reynolds, barely audible. Yes, Your Honor. Aaliyah, you stated, and I quote, these people always claim to be lawyers, judges, senators. Correct. Reynolds nods. Aaliyah, you also said, people like her need to learn that actions have consequences. Do you remember that? Reynolds, whisper. Yes. Aaliyah's tone sharpened, calm, deadly precise. Aaliyah, good. Then you'll appreciate the irony when I tell you, you were right. She lifted a tablet from a bench. Aaliyah, this is footage from Courthouse Security Camera 7, showing the incident in question. Click. The screen lit up. The video played. And the truth screamed. There it was, crystal clear. Officer Brian Reynolds, standing on the courthouse steps. The slap. The chokehold. The words. Filthy animals like you belong in cages. The courtroom gasped collectively. Someone whispered a prayer. Someone else started crying. Aaliyah paused the video. Aaliyah, Officer Reynolds, do you see any aggression from me here? Any profanity? Any threat to public safety? Reynolds, voice cracking. No, Your Honor. Aaliyah, let's continue. She swiped again. A second video began to play. The footage automatically uploaded from Reynolds' own body camera. Footage he had claimed malfunctioned. Reynolds' voice, clear as day. Look at this one. Think she's special or something. Time to teach her who runs this courthouse. The room fell into stunned disbelief. Even the prosecutor stopped breathing. Aaliyah turned toward the gallery, her tone steady and chilling. Aaliyah, Officer Harris, Officer Dawson, you've both testified that Officer Reynolds handled this situation with professionalism. Would you like to revise your statements? Neither man moved. Their badges suddenly felt heavier than steel. Aaliyah, no? Noted for the record. She leaned forward, eyes never leaving Reynolds. Aaliyah, Officer Reynolds, I'd like to remind you that perjury under oath is a felony offense. Reynolds' lips trembled. His once steady voice was gone. For the first time in his career, he had no control of the room. He wasn't the storyteller anymore. He was the story. Aaliyah set the tablet down, clasped her hands, and looked around the courtroom. The same courtroom that had watched her humiliated 2 hours earlier. Aaliyah, Officer Reynolds, when you struck me this morning, you said some people only understand authority when it's backed by force. Do you remember that? He nodded weakly. Aaliyah, then allow me to introduce you to another kind of authority. One you cannot intimidate, cannot silence, and cannot slap. Her gavel gleamed beneath the lights. The bruise on her face caught the same glow. Justice had never looked more human. Aaliyah, this morning you told me to know my place. And now, Officer Reynolds. She stood, every inch the judge she had always been. You're about to learn yours. Sound, gavel strikes hard. Echo lingers, then silence. In that single motion, the balance of power in the courtroom flipped like a coin in the air. And when it landed, everything would change. What came next would shake the Atlanta Police Department to its core and rewrite the definition of justice itself. Fade out. The echo of the gavel still hung in the air, vibrating through marble and bone alike. For a full 10 seconds, no one dared to breathe. Then, Judge Aaliyah Carter leaned forward, eyes fixed on the trembling man before her. Officer Brian Reynolds stood like a statue, if statues could sweat. Every lie he'd told, every insult he'd whispered, now circled him like ghosts demanding payment. Aaliyah, Officer Reynolds, let's revisit your testimony. She opened a thick folder on the bench, each page sounding like a blade drawn from a sheath. Aaliyah, you told this court that I was aggressive, erratic, combative, that I carried stolen documents, that you acted in the interest of public safety. She looked up. Would you like to amend any of those statements? Reynolds, hoarse. No, Your Honor. His voice cracked, a small, pitiful sound swallowed by the courtroom silence. Aaliyah tapped the gavel once, lightly, just enough to remind everyone who owned the moment. Aaliyah, Officer Reynolds, your body cam recorded every second of your assault. Your colleagues' cameras corroborated. You lied under oath in my courtroom, and that makes your falsehoods perjury. Reynolds swallowed hard. Aaliyah, but perjury is only the beginning. Because when you put your hands on me, officer, you didn't just assault a woman. You assaulted a federal judge. The crowd gasped, the sound rising like a single drawn breath before collapsing into silence again. Aaliyah rose from her chair, her black robes flowing like smoke. Each step down from the bench sounded deliberate, heavy with purpose. Aaliyah, do you know what that means, Officer Reynolds? Assaulting a federal judge isn't a disciplinary issue. It's a federal felony. She stopped right in front of him. Aaliyah, and that is the least of your problems. The color drained from his face. The man who had strutted across those courthouse steps hours earlier now looked like a boy lost in a nightmare he couldn't wake from. Aaliyah lifted another folder, thicker, older, scarred from years of handling. Aaliyah, this file contains every case you've testified in during your 15-year career. She flipped open the first page. 43 cases, 28 involved Black or Hispanic defendants. 26 of those arrests were yours. Does that sound familiar? Reynolds didn't answer. Aaliyah, you use the same language every time. Acting erratically, resisting arrest, aggressive behavior. Copy, paste, repeat. She set the papers down like evidence at a crime scene. Aaliyah, let me remind you of a few names. Rosa Delgado, age 63, broken wrist during a traffic stop. Jamal Washington, 17, honor student. You claimed he fit a description. Dr. Michael Johnson, cardiologist. You arrested him in front of his own home. She looked up, her voice steady but sharp enough to draw blood. Aaliyah, all complaints against you, dismissed. Internal Affairs labeled them unsubstantiated. But that ends today. Reynolds tried to speak, but words failed him. Reynolds, whispering, I was just doing my job. Aaliyah, your job. Her tone sliced the air. Your job is to protect the Constitution, not violate it. To serve the people, not prey upon them. She turned, addressing the gallery. Aaliyah, and the saddest part? You were protected every step of the way. The system built walls around you, so high you started believing you were untouchable. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Reporters scribbled. Phones recorded. Every word was evidence now. Aaliyah's eyes narrowed. Aaliyah, Officer Reynolds, for the past 6 months, I've been working directly with the FBI's Civil Rights Division investigating systemic misconduct within this department. A collective gasp swept the courtroom. Aaliyah, and you, Officer Reynolds, are one of the names on that list. Reynolds' knees buckled. His world, built on lies and arrogance, was starting to crumble in front of him. Sound, faint rumble of thunder, papers shuffle. The judge returned to her bench and lifted another document. Aaliyah, Internal Affairs reports. 47 formal complaints in 15 years. 47. She raised her voice slightly. That's more than 3 per year. You've cost this county $2.3 million in settlements. Aaliyah, firm. Money that came out of taxpayers' pockets. People you were supposed to protect. The prosecutor, Linda Porter, had gone completely pale. Even she knew this was beyond salvaging. Sound. Tense orchestral swell. Aaliyah lifted her gavel, holding it between 2 fingers like a symbol of divine judgment. Aaliyah, you want to teach me a lesson about consequences. So let me teach you one. She turned her gaze back to the gallery. Aaliyah, for years, people like Officer Reynolds have hidden behind a badge, knowing the system will protect them. But today, this courtroom will remember that justice is not blind. She only waits. The line hit like thunder. The courtroom was no longer watching a trial. They were witnessing a reckoning. Aaliyah, effective immediately, Officer Reynolds, you're under federal investigation for assault, perjury, and violation of civil rights under color of law. Reynolds' head dropped into his hands. His body shook with quiet sobs. Reynolds, mumbling, I didn't know who you were. Aaliyah, coldly, that's exactly the problem, officer. You didn't know who any of them were. You never saw the people you hurt. You only saw targets. Her words pierced the air, clean and final. Sound, distant murmuring, thunder fades. For a long moment, Aaliyah said nothing. Then softly, Aaliyah, Bailiff Dean, please take Officer Reynolds into custody, pending review by federal authorities. Marcus Dean stepped forward, cuffs in hand. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The same man Reynolds had ordered around hours ago now held the power to cage him. The click of those cuffs sounded like a full stop at the end of a dark chapter. But Aaliyah wasn't finished. Aaliyah, before we recess, there's something else. She reached under the bench and pulled out a sealed envelope. The seal bore the insignia of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Aaliyah, this morning, before entering this courtroom, I received a confidential memorandum from the FBI's Civil Rights Division. She paused, letting the suspense breathe. It details an internal leak in the Atlanta Police Department. Someone inside this courthouse has been helping officers cover up misconduct cases for years. The audience stiffened. Reporters froze mid-keystroke. Aaliyah, quietly, and according to the evidence, one of those names sits right here in this courtroom. Dead silence. Eyes darted. Even the lights seemed to dim. Reynolds looked up, confused. Prosecutor Linda Porter's hands trembled. Judge Carter's gaze swept the room, methodical, relentless. Aaliyah, in this envelope is the list of those involved in tampering with internal investigations, falsifying reports, and destroying evidence. She set it down on the bench, untouched. Aaliyah, and one of those names belongs to someone we all thought represented justice. Her tone sharpened, each word cutting deeper than the last. Aaliyah, someone whose betrayal runs deeper than Officer Reynolds' brutality ever could. The entire courtroom held its breath. Aaliyah rested her hand on the envelope. Then she looked straight at the prosecutor. Aaliyah, Prosecutor Porter, would you care to explain why your signature appears on 3 falsified case dismissals connected to Officer Reynolds? Linda Porte, stammering. Your Honor, I don't. Her face went white. The crowd erupted in whispers. The cameras flashed. Aaliyah struck her gavel once. Bang. Silence. Aaliyah, low. Final. This court is now in recess. When we return, we will decide whether justice ends with one officer or begins with an entire system. And as that gavel fell for the last time that day, one truth became clear. The reckoning had only just begun. When the gavel struck that afternoon, the courthouse didn't just fall silent. It held its breath. For hours, the world outside waited. News vans lined Peachtree Street. Reporters huddled under umbrellas. And behind those heavy oak doors, one woman, bruised but unbroken, prepared to deliver judgment. When the doors reopened, the courtroom was transformed. Every seat was filled. Every light burned brighter. Every eye followed her. Judge Aaliyah Carter entered through the side chamber. Head held high, robes flowing behind her like a banner of justice carried through fire. Bailiff Marcus Dean, firmly, "All rise." And they did. Every soul in that room rose, not just in respect, but in awe of the woman who had turned her own assault into a moment of reckoning. Aaliyah, steady. This court is back in session. Her voice carried like thunder, softened by mercy. Across the room, Officer Brian Reynolds sat cuffed, pale, and shaking. Beside him, Prosecutor Linda Porter's lips quivered, her eyes darting like a cornered animal. Aaliyah, before we begin, I want the record to reflect that the evidence presented today has been verified by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A hush rolled through the crowd like a wave. This wasn't just a trial anymore. This was history unfolding live. Aaliyah turned her gaze to Reynolds, the same gaze he'd ignored that morning when he saw her as nothing more than a suspect. Aaliyah, Officer Reynolds, your actions this morning were not just criminal. They were emblematic of a system that has protected men like you for far too long. Her tone was even, but each word landed like a hammer striking stone. Aaliyah, you believed your badge made you untouchable. You believed authority excused brutality. But justice does not recognize arrogance as power. Her words wrapped around him, stripping away every illusion of control. He wasn't the enforcer anymore. He was the example. Aaliyah shifted her focus to the prosecutor's table. Aaliyah, coldly, Prosecutor Linda Porter, you stand accused of falsifying legal dismissals in coordination with Officer Reynolds. 3 cases involving victims of unlawful arrest. Porter's voice trembled. Porte, Your Honor, I was following directives. Aaliyah, cutting her off. Whose directives? Porte, internal orders from higher up. They said if we didn't bury those complaints, the department's reputation. Aaliyah, will be tarnished? Beat. It already is. Gasps rippled through the room like wind through leaves. The cameras zoomed in. The city would never forget what came next. Aaliyah, this courthouse was built on pillars meant to hold truth, not secrets. And today, truth has come home. She held up the FBI's memorandum, the very one sealed that morning. Aaliyah, this document contains not just names, but proof. Emails, falsified signatures, hidden payouts. A network of corruption that stretches from the precinct to the prosecutor's office. The sound of pens scratching stopped. Even the air seemed afraid to move. Aaliyah, softly. For years, justice slept in this building. Today she wakes. She placed the papers down and looked directly at Reynolds. Aaliyah, Officer Reynolds, this court finds you guilty of assault in the first degree, perjury under oath, violation of civil rights under color of law, and obstruction of justice. Reynolds, broken. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I didn't mean to. Aaliyah, firm. You didn't mean to what? Get caught. He said nothing. The tears came anyway. Aaliyah, your apology comes too late. Not just for me, but for every person you've brutalized under the guise of law. Her gavel struck once. Aaliyah, you are hereby sentenced to 25 years in federal prison, without the possibility of parole. The room exploded in murmurs. Some gasped, some cheered, others simply wept. But Judge Carter wasn't finished. Justice, real justice, never stops halfway. She turned toward the trembling prosecutor. Aaliyah, Prosecutor Porter, your cooperation will determine your fate. But understand this, justice doesn't bend to protect reputation. Not in my courtroom. Porter nodded through tears. Porter, yes, Your Honor. The words felt heavy in her mouth, like swallowing fire. Aaliyah took a deep breath, glancing toward the gallery, the packed audience that had witnessed every second of this storm. Aaliyah, addressing the room. This case was never just about one officer or one prosecutor or one courthouse. It's about what happens when people forget what justice means. Her voice filled the room. Powerful, commanding, but laced with a quiet ache. Aaliyah, justice isn't a word carved in marble above our doors. It's a promise, a duty, a fight. She paused, the silence itself listening. Aaliyah, and for too long, we've let fear, bias, and power distort that promise. But not anymore. Not here. The words hit like thunder, righteous and raw. Aaliyah, effective immediately, I'm ordering a federal review of every case involving Officer Reynolds and any prosecutor connected to his record. Every file, every charge, every life touched by his misconduct will have its day in court again. Applause broke out. Hesitant at first, then swelling, unstoppable. Aaliyah, raising her voice. And if you've ever doubted that justice could fight back, look around you. It's fighting right now. Reporters stood. Cameras clicked. The courtroom had become something greater than a room of law. It was a sanctuary of truth. When the applause faded, Aaliyah removed her glasses and set them gently on the bench. Her voice softened. Aaliyah, when I took this seat 23 years ago, I swore an oath to defend the Constitution and uphold the rights of every citizen, no matter who they were. She looked down at her hands, steady but scarred from the morning's violence. Aaliyah, I was reminded today that those rights aren't words on paper. They're living, breathing promises, and they must be defended, even when the system itself forgets them. The room was silent again, not with fear, but reverence. Aaliyah, to every person who's ever been silenced by abuse of power, let this day remind you, justice may be delayed, but it cannot be denied. Beat. And to those who think authority makes them untouchable, remember, justice doesn't need permission. She arrives when she's ready. Her hand lifted the gavel one last time. Aaliyah, this court stands adjourned. Sound, gavel strikes. Thunder crashes outside in perfect unison. As the echo faded, people stood in tears. Cameras flashed, capturing history in motion. And at the center of it all, Judge Aaliyah Carter stood tall beneath the courtroom lights, a living symbol that truth, no matter how bruised, always rises. Officer Reynolds was led away in cuffs, head bowed. Prosecutor Porter sat motionless, face pale, future uncertain. And Aaliyah Carter simply closed her folder and whispered to herself, justice served. But the work's just begun. 6 months later, the ripple of that verdict still spread across Atlanta. The Atlanta Police Department came under federal oversight. Dozens of old cases were reopened. Wrongfully convicted citizens walked free for the first time in years. Body cameras became mandatory statewide, and the courthouse where it all happened was renamed the Aaliyah Carter Federal Courthouse. A bronze plaque near the entrance reads, "Here, justice found her voice." Today, people still whisper about that morning. The morning a woman walked into a courthouse as a victim and walked out as a revolution. They say justice is blind. But that day, in Atlanta, Georgia, justice opened her eyes. Sometimes justice doesn't come wrapped in a badge. Sometimes it comes wearing bruises and a judge's robe. Judge Aaliyah Carter reminded the world that true power isn't loud. It's the quiet strength to stand back up and make the system answer for its own sins. Because no one, not even those behind the badge, is above the law. If this story moved you, take a moment to hit that like button. It tells YouTube this story matters. And if you believe in justice, equality, and standing up to corruption, subscribe to this channel right now and turn on your notification bell so you never miss the next story that speaks truth to power. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from, because stories like this are bigger than one city, one courthouse, or one judge. They belong to all of us.